Hi guys, welcome back to Wartburg. It has been a while since I did anything. You can see obviously nothing's changed since the last episode, and it's been over a week, I think. It's been ages anyway. I've been missing it, so I have come back on today so we can continue with this airport. My plan for the start of this episode is to fix everything that I left last episode that I don't like, which is mainly the layout of these hangars here. I really don't like them. I'm gonna shuffle all these about and sort it out, and also like kind of the front of the airport. I feel like down here is obviously super bland and boring, and I don't know how I like the layout of this kind of facility area I have here. I'm probably gonna just like condense it down a bit and move it along and sort everything out to make it look a bit better. So I think I'm going to get cracking with that now. So after some slight painful reshuffling, I have managed to come up with something that I'm happy with for now. I mean, I can see myself being happy with this for the foreseeable future. It looks pretty decent. So all I did was change around this kind of area at the front. I made it a bit more open, and then I decided to put like some taxi stands in, just where, cause obviously taxis are quite big coming to and from an airport if you don't want to drive and park your car there. So I implemented this kind of area where you'd come and be able to get plenty of taxis, and I see maybe some sort of car rental as well if you just if you're visiting. And then I made this car park look a bit better, and then there was this gap between the concourse and the actual car park and the area of the actual airport. So I decided to just fill it with paths and add trees just to make it look nice and fill the space. And then I added these trees right in the back here, and just more paths that go underneath. So the whole area starts to kind of look a bit more full and fleshed out with less and less empty spaces. And then when it came to the hangers, my camera froze for a second there. I removed all the large hangers. I just think there wasn't enough space, and I was just trying to squeeze them in because they were new. So I just went with 5 of the small hangers, and there's actually this refueling thing here. What's it called? The aviation fuel station, because obviously planes need to refuel before they go on the next flight. So I added that in, and then I actually wanted to see where I needed to push this taxiway out, because obviously these are the small aircraft stands, so to fit the medium ones in I had to move the taxiway out slightly. So I actually put 2 of these medium aircraft stands in, and then to fill the space where it kind of wiggles out and I couldn't fit any stands in parallel to the or perpendicular to the concourse, I put in these parked planes. So 2 medium-sized ones, and then 2 of the smaller ones, just to kind of fill up the space and just make the airport look a bit more alive. So now that the stuff that we built in the last episode is all cleaned up and to a standard of my liking, we can now crack on with the expansion of the airport. So obviously the first thing we want to do is remove all of these fences that keep us locked in, and I can't seem to delete the last one. There we go. So what we want to include now is all the new stuff that we've unlocked. So we now have the large terminal, which is huge. So we started with the 2-story terminal, and now we have this enormous large terminal, which I'd assume I want to go over here somewhere. And there is also the ultra modern large terminal. I think are they a completely different shape? They are. This ultra modern large terminal I think will be perfect to put on the corner down here. And then what else are we actually waiting to unlock? It's the cargo stuff. Okay, so there's the train station that we'll want to fit in. The cargo stuff, the aviation museum. Okay, so this stuff is actually all quite cool. So I don't know if I'm gonna actually have a cargo portion to this airport, because I don't know if it's something that I want to build. I just kind of want to keep it to a civilian airport, but you never know, my mind could change. But also space is something I'm concerned about. Like, we don't have enough of it to make a separate section of the airport, because I don't want them being merged together. But we don't actually have that much more to unlock than we already have. So I think I might just go ahead and get this larger terminal placed down now. So the ultra modern large terminal. I don't know if I want to keep a uniform kind of look and go with this modern large terminal. So what was troubling me was the fact that this is actually at a right angle. It's a perfect corner. I didn't want to put it on a corner because it would look, you'd either have the roads that service the public on the inside, or it'd just be kind of like a, it's too important, right? It's the big main terminal. It's too important to go on a corner. You kind of want it in the middle of the airport, which it is right here. So I thought I can dip it back in and make a triangle and bring it back out. And what you can actually have is these concourse hubs where you can have multiple concourses. If it won't snap to a perfect 135 degree angle, but that'll be good enough. if I drag that out, I can have this at the end of it that can then split off into more concourses that can serve more runways essentially. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to keep it there actually. I do really like the way that kind of sticks out, you know, and this kind of serves like loads of planes. But what I want to do is build now a bit of a larger runway. So this is obviously the second runway that we have, but I want this one to be quite a bit bigger. So I'd want this one to like be able to be landed on and taken off from by all sides of planes. So your big jetliners, not just your smaller ones. And fitting it in is quite a pain, but I think running it along the back here is probably one of the best options. Now obviously I don't want it stupidly big, but I want it semi-realistically large. And I feel like that is a pretty decent way. So they all take off and land in the same direction, which is what you want. And I feel like that is a pretty decent size compared to the other one to say, yeah, we've upgraded the airport. And then obviously there will be some large plane stands that go on it, but those are once we unlock level 3, and we've still got plenty of space out here if I do want to do anything. And worst case scenario, we could always push this mountain back. And I am gonna fix the lumpiness of this mountain, by the way. But for now, we are just focusing on the airport. So what I need to do is get all of these roads connected up where they should be. So I'm just gonna follow the concourse with it. And they actually, that one connects in pretty easily. I would assume this other elevated one is pretty much the same. So what we can do now is get plenty more medium aircraft stands down this end of the airport to get way more passengers going in and out. So I will connect all of them up. I keep getting, now the city's getting larger, those freezes are becoming more and more frequent. So I'm going to go with the same setup we did for the other runway, which is run a taxiway parallel and in the opposite direction to the way the runway is, so that planes can pretty easily get on and off. And then we will have to get water hooked up to all these places as well. Now you can see these airports are constantly struggling with garbage and policing issues, and I think the issue is that they have to be served via this raised up platform, which obviously isn't convenient for the city services because they have to come along the highway. So what I think I need to do is connect this this elevated road in down here and do the same for the other end, probably loop it around and connect it up in here. But with the way these roads are going to come off, obviously I don't particularly know what I'm going to do with this area yet, but I'm definitely going to bring these two down and connect in here, but then I'll also probably connect them to the highway as well, just so that we have many more access points, which will take a bit more pressure off junctions like this. Now see, I think this would work, depends where they're all going, but I think the roundabout might be a shout in here again. I'm just getting slightly sidetracked, but I love the way the roundabout looked underneath here. I'm going to quickly go and add it back. Obviously we don't want these crossings. I thought I removed them the first time round, but it might have changed. The problem is with the roundabout, the traffic gets stuck here a bit. Obviously roundabouts are meant to keep traffic flowing, but it doesn't do that so much in City Skylines because they stop no matter what. They treat it as a stop sign rather than a giveaway sign. But what I'm hoping is they all kind of flow a bit nicer now. And it seems to have removed all of the lanes I put in earlier, but it didn't get rid of the markings, which is fine. And see, that's kind of cleared up, so hopefully we can keep the roundabout in there now, and we'll be taking pressure off it in the future with this anyway. So we now have way more medium aircraft stands in, so we have such an immense passenger capacity. And you can see a lot more of our seats are being used as well. But to raise that up to 100%, what we want to do is increase the attractiveness score so more people want to use the airline. So we've got many more things we can do now. We still have the control tower down there, but I would want a separate control tower for this runway, which we can stick right on the edge there with a perfect view of this brand new runway, and it looks quite cool being connected up to this hub here, which obviously you'd have all your airport services in here, like your shopping areas and your restaurants and like all the cool bits of an airport that you go for. Obviously you go to the airport for travel, but you also go because the airports are super fun. So we can fit 2 more medium aircraft stands in right there. And what we might want to do now actually is change where that runs up to and not bring it up there, bring it here, connect it up there, and it doesn't want to connect in because of something to do with these nodes. So those 2 aren't lined up either, which is quite weird, but it's only the taxiway, so I don't think we really care too much. So now we've got all of them set up, we now need to go look at what we can do to raise our attractiveness. So we have an airport lounge. So is this connected to the concourse? It is. So I think this is a perfect place to have an airport lounge. I personally, if I was in an airport lounge, I'd want it to have a great view of the runways. So I think either side of this control tower is the perfect place to have it. So actually, if I make sure I get them as close as possible on either side, I can make it symmetrical. I think this one needs to move out a little bit actually. Okay, maybe placing them on here wasn't the best idea because symmetry is going to be difficult to achieve, but if I place it right there, so as soon as it pings back, where's it locking on? Okay, this one doesn't want to behave particularly. I wonder why. There we go. That's pretty symmetrical to me. Now that is cool. So airport lounges either side, they would have an amazing view as well, with the obviously the mountain in the background, and then the main brand new runway, and then the control tower in the middle too. Those would be absolutely amazing, and I will pay a stupid amount of money to be able to spend some time in them airport lounges. But now we have the elevated metro station. Now obviously we have metro on this main terminal and on this concourse here. I don't think I'm going to connect metro up here because it doesn't make too much sense. You'd kind of get to this concourse hub once you'd gone through airport security and check your bags in and stuff. So if you're coming in on the metro and getting off here, you would then have to come back down to the terminal's main entrances to sort all your stuff out, which is kind of weird. But the problem is, we have roads in the way of this elevated metro station. So I want to actually see how it connects in. So it does look very cool. And I'd want to keep it elevated just for the novelty of it being in this station. I wouldn't want to run it straight underground immediately. So what I'm thinking we could do is obviously these roads are both gonna run off and run parallel to that road there. I could keep the concourse running and bend it back in, and then we'd have room to mess with the metro lines. Because now that we have way more aircraft stands, we are going to be having a lot more passengers that will want to get out on public transport to get them where they need to be. Yeah, you can see we're at 100% usage now. So let's have a proper think about this. And maybe we should actually get placing stuff down. So obviously there's going to be a bit more roadworks that I'm going to have to do, which I'm not complaining about because I absolutely love it. So this elevated one, where is it relative to this intersection? Right, it's here. I don't want to keep it, I want to keep it as close here as possible because we don't want it close to this intersection because it would cause issues. So if we run that over there and then I'll run it in here and we bend it nicely round, So that connects quite well. And just for the simplicity for now, I will just run the lower level right into the road, because all that is going to be, if I can connect it up properly, is a placeholder for where I'd want it to go in the future. But realistically, I can't do much more with it. That connection's not... It's probably the best I'm going to get it, to be honest. I probably shouldn't complain too much. Now, we actually did just connect the entire power of the airport, which we're just going to replace and ignore them wires and pretend that never happened. I'll fix that up later. So now we actually have the room to run. Let's find it. Where is it? The concourse down here. So what I'd actually want it to do is run parallel to the road like this. And now can we fit it on? Yes, we can. So obviously this line, actually, is that the best idea? Because I kind of want it to avoid contacting the road. We need to think about where the actual metro lines that would lead to the airport are as well. So I was imagining, obviously, this line here from where we create the theme park transport hub. This is metro and it runs right across the river. When I was envisioning the airport, I was envisioning that line running all the way through what new area we'd create here, serving it, and then coming up and connecting to the airport. So that works quite well if we have it coming up round and there. But also if I created it at a diagonal angle here, it could just come straight over the river, bypass going all the way up and following this area down. Obviously you want the metro to be quicker, you don't want it to follow the roads, you want it to take the most direct route. So maybe that is the idea. So if I just temporarily demolish it for now, and I create this angle down like this and create sort of a V shape. Actually, I think it might be better to do that to make sure we get the nice 90-degree angle. And then maybe actually that works. So where was it again? It's here. So that can now run out nicely in that direction. Although maybe, obviously we have the station underground here, which could just as easily connect up there and then pop above ground and run in. So maybe we don't need this station, despite how cool it looks and how much I'd love to include it. Or maybe we can. Maybe I just need to think of a different way and maybe look away from connecting it to the downtown and maybe connecting it to somewhere else. Maybe somewhere even within the airport if we want to transport people around in the airport area. So if I just place that down there, I know that I am taking a really roundabout way of doing all of this and I'm taking my time, but I think it's good to put the thought into it, because putting all this thought and effort into thinking about how exactly I want it to look and play out is what makes it as good. So this actually has its own service, kind of where you can get in and out at the front and then also connects in the back there, which is quite awesome. Realistically, I could have it on the inside, but I feel like it would disrupt quite a bit. Now there seems a bit too out of the way, so I'm just keeping that piece there to make sure it stays parallel. I'm doing a lot of scrolling here, so I'm just going to expand the menu. If I just make sure it's parallel and run it horizontally here instead, that will give us the ability to make quite a nice connection there, and then move that up here. And I would want it to be close to the road, but I can just give them a path to walk to it, because walking won't harm people too much, will it? And then it could go off this way and connect into, yeah, I suppose it would be good to look at the subway lines that we already have, or the metro lines. So if I just go to underground mode, we do have a dead-end metro line here in Augsburg that can pop up, run round, connect in, and then this can come down, and I would assume this one was probably easier to keep them underground. Just keep it underground all the way around, and then pop it back up when we come into the downtown here. So maybe what this could be is the start of a new metro loop that we have that runs kind of round the back of the island here, and maybe loops around and comes back in. So maybe we don't actually need to connect that up for today. That can be something for future me and you to enjoy. And I would really like to get it involved now, but I've already spent ages thinking about how else I want to construct this airport, and now messing around with this metro hub is probably not the best idea. So despite the fact we're not connecting this up, that doesn't mean that I don't want to put any connections in right now, because we still need to get people in and out more efficiently because we've expanded the airport. So what we're going to do is complete this line, so we will eventually have one full loop around the city. So that actually connects in super nicely there into Lower Augsburg, where this subway stop is, and then here is the longer winded kind of connection, which is all the way out here. There's now a really long-winded way to get from Augsburg into the downtown if you wanted to go past the airport, but what people are mainly going to use that for is getting to and from the airport via the metro, which we now have included. So you can get in via bus, taxi, or the underground. So now we have plenty of ways to access the airport to get people in and out. And now we can level up. So we're actually 60 attractiveness score off. So we do need to place our last couple of bits down, and we still have loads and loads of things that I haven't built. So we have got the airline lounges down, but we haven't got a luxury airport hotel down. And we have all of this beautiful green space out front to build one of these. That was the wrong tab. So where would we actually want to place it? Probably in the middle, away from the road slightly, and then we can surround it by trees. So if I just go and grab a tree-lined road and bring us back above ground, I can quite nicely, I also take road guidelines off so I don't make any weird connections. I can quite nicely run that round. And is it going to fit in there? Please say it fits. Oh my goodness, I was one square off. So it actually needed to come up to there, and now we can connect that back in. And look at that. Tell you what, that is quite a cool looking hotel, and that is what has leveled us up. So now we have unlocked pretty much the rest of the stuff. Once you hit 3 stars, you kind of pretty much have everything. The other 2 stars are just for showing how cool you are. So we got the train station as well, actually. The airline headquarters building, and then a couple more parked planes just for show, the large aircraft stand, and the aviation museum. So what I actually want to do though quickly before we deal with any of that is connect the hotel up. And then now we've got the hotel in, I know this is probably going to be a little bit painful to some of you, but we need more parking. So actually, this is quite an awkward place to put parking in. So what I might just do is stick a multi-story on, like that. Add paths either side. So that is purely parking for hotel guests. and I actually need to just connect up paths either side. So it is still walkable. There we go. And then just drag that up a little bit closer so it adds a nice bit of a connection. Same with this one. There we go. And now look how awesome that looks. That is a wonderful hotel that you would be absolutely thrilled to stay in, I would think, if you were stranded at an airport and needed somewhere to stay for the night. So I can just pretty this up more with trees just to make it seem a bit more complete. The camera does keep lagging, and then I always over accommodate with how much I turn the camera to look at something because it freezes. I've just done it again then, as I was saying about it. And then those last few trees go in, and then we can add a few of the larger trees over here because we wanna hide the ugly car park. I don't mean that to insult the car park, but it is just purely ugly and no one really wants to see it, do they? And then we will just have to panicky some paths in here because walkability is the key feature of a city. Now it's actually probably smarter to connect that into the corner there, which I will do. And the connection of the paths actually isn't the nicest thing. That looks quite a bit better. So we now have the hotel included, and this is all starting to look pretty awesome with the airport going, but obviously out here looks quite a bit bland. So what we're going to do is touch up the actual airport's facilities when it comes to flying planes. So what I'll do is I'll run that in there. I'm hoping that's a nice spacing for something to fit in. We'll check that first actually. So what do we actually want to put down? We probably want, so this is the Aviation Museum. So we'll place that outside. There's the cargo terminal, which we're not worrying about for now. The train station we'll also not worry about for now. I think that's probably it, to be honest, though, isn't it? So how big are these large aircraft stands, or these large parked planes? They're not huge. And to be honest, we can probably place them across from there. Right, let's think about this again. So where do we want our large parked aircraft to go? Because we can actually run this concourse down here if we want to keep them closer to the runway. Or we could just come over here to all this space on the concourses we have over here. And I will actually use my buttons this time. So that's for the cargo planes, which we're not caring about. So we will leave this kind of bridge across to the hub, and we will just start getting the large aircraft stands down so we can get people in. So which way is the taxiway running? So we will keep it going as kind of a one-way loop, because hopefully that is the most efficient for all the aircraft, and we'll actually get the large stands in here too, so get as close as possible to each other, and then curve that one around. And now we'll run it out. Where does I actually want to connect back up? There. I don't think we need to use all of that space now. I'm only going to run it up to here, and of course we have node issues again. There we go. I think these taxiways are a little bit janky when you place them down, but we can then also run this one down here and connect it up and in, and then we have quite a nice loop there with ability for further expansion. And how close are we actually with this runway to the airport fence? If I grab a bit, oh, we have some clearance. I'll just run the fence down before I forget. And then we have all this space in the middle that I now want to have filled out and looking absolutely fabulous for forever, pretty much. I don't want a time limit on it because I want it to always look good, don't I? So what I think we'll have to do is that wants to connect in at a bad place. So what I can do instead is that also wants to, everything wants to connect in at a bad place at the minute. making everything real inconvenient. But really not wanting to play nice today, is it? There we go. So now we have the basic taxi network set out for the planes. Oh, and we already have a large plane. I don't feel like planes should be taken off that close together. Wow, that is huge. That is absolutely enormous. Does its wings actually, because they're going to be wider than the runway. I just want to double check that the wings don't hit the fence as it takes off. No, we're really far away. They just clipped wings as they were going past each other though. Wow, we are very, very busy. Yeah, we've gained like 3,000 passengers since I last looked. And people aren't even filling up the planes, which is kind of crazy. You'd think if they didn't have as many passengers, they wouldn't send as many planes out. Anyways, I think we have plenty of aircraft stands for now. It is seeming to be the space in the middle that we want to fill up. So do we have space for another fuel depot? Yes, we do. Because we'd want plenty of places for aircraft to refuel, and we can just fill that in with some of the nicer tiles that they have. That's probably what I'll actually do right now, is just fill in these gaps so that there isn't any. There we go. And the same over here. Fill in that empty space. Same there. There we go. Nice and uniform all the way around. And now here is where I want to put the larger, what are they called, hangars in. So they are in the decorative building section. And over here, so we get the large hangars, which we can just add pretty much wall to wall, because we'll want to squeeze in as many as possible. And the real question is where 540. So if I just think, oh, I'm trying to eyeball this because I want to have the hangars back to back, and that is a little bit too close. If I go, that was the previous nose. If I go about here, and that is going to be inconvenient to make parallel. Do they now fit in? No, that is still too close. Then that is super far away. I feel like we may actually need to think about this a little bit more than I am doing, which is just eyeballing it. But to be honest, eyeballing has to work at some point. Or we could just take an easy way out and anarchy them in together, which is a brilliant alternative because that saves me plenty of time. And then squeeze that third one in, and are they slightly off-centered? A little bit. If I just slightly drag that over, I can actually use the fences to line them up perfectly, which is quite nice. There we go, so they're all nicely lined up and nice and uniform, which is always great. And then we have a little bit of empty space there. Obviously not all the empty space is going to be concreted over, but just little bits like that where it shouldn't really be grass, it feels better to fill it in. So we can then run this taxiway all the way down, flip the direction, and there we go. So obviously there's still quite a bit of empty space, but what I can do at another time is fill that empty space in with things, or kind of just leave it as grass, because airports are probably mostly empty space because of how much room they need to operate things. So if as long as it's kind of tidy and neat, having it quite open is probably the best thing. And to be honest, there is a lot going on. So that is looking absolutely fantastic. I'm just really happy with the way it all looks. It is amazing. So all I need to do, well, all I'm gonna go away and do, ready for the next video, is the connection of this road over to the highway and out. And the same with this road. I'm probably going to make this connection a bit better because it just does just kind of just tee off when it could flow a lot nicer. And then obviously for the future of the airport, we can take this concourse out and up there, or we could just end the airport there because it's huge, but who'd want to do that? Maybe we can add a little bit of a cargo area in, considering we do have a train line where the cargo trains do run along that can connect in. And then we also need to have the train line for the passengers connecting in. So we still do have quite a lot of stuff to carry out. But I'll save that all for next time. So I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. I think it'll be a bit of a shorter one than normal. It might not be though, to be fair. I've been talking for quite a while. Less of this video was time-lapse centered. It was more kind of me talking at you, telling you what I was thinking as I was placing stuff down. Which has been a bit more fun. I've kind of enjoyed doing this one a little bit more than I normally do, because I kind of just like tell you what I'm going to do, and then I go ahead and just do it and make the decisions on my own without saying anything in a time lapse with music playing, and then I speed it up and you can kind of just infer what's going on from them time lapses. But when I do it kind of like this, I can kind of tell you what my thought process is, why I'm doing stuff. Just tell me which one you prefer, whether you prefer the time lapses or me talking at you, or you enjoy a bit of a balance of both. But anyways, I'm going to end this one here. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe because it makes me happy. And I will see you in the next video.